welcome to you, Lois. Lois is the HR manager at NAGICO, which is, from what all I've read, from all accounts, is quite significantly one of the strongest insurance companies in the region in terms of the presence, in terms of 21 countries actually across the region where you actually have a presence at NAGICO. And also, you are the HR manager, so really managing that HR, the human capital piece for the organization. So tell us a little bit about what would you say is the most rewarding part of what you do, Lois?
So the most rewarding part of what we do as HR in NAGICO is keeping our employees engaged and retaining them. We have a low attrition rate locally in Trinidad, and I would say throughout the group, because the organization is 40 years old and we have persons who would have been with the organization for an extensive period of time, and that is a testament to the values that we espouse in NAGICO, whereby management listens, so they care and they really do consider what the employees have to say. And I think given the backing that we have locally, I actually work with a management team that appreciates HR, that would heed our recommendations, and I have the support of a general manager who, though she's an accountant, she actually is people-centric. You hardly find that, no offense to accounting professionals. But in light of that, because we have that backing, it makes our job a whole lot easier. And one of the taglines that we have in our department is, we do it for the love of HR.
Wow, fantastic. So what would you say, given what you've seen during the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, would you say that the business is going to require? And in terms of the future of our people, what are some of the areas that you would want to see some development in terms of, because we all come out of the pandemic and we're all recognizing that we have to do things differently. Yeah, yes. We can't keep doing it the same. So what would you say would be some of those things?
Definitely at the core of that would be a hybrid working system. While persons some may prefer work from home and some may prefer to come in the office because of their context, I think a hybrid working system would be ideal in that it supports work-life balance. For me personally in the pandemic, and I think for most HR practitioners, we would have worked extensive hours supporting the organization, supporting our peers, and it would have taken a toll. And when you speak to other persons in other areas, they have similar issues whereby, so you're not commuting, but you're spending that time at your desk at home doing work. So it's important that we strike that balance and perhaps have a hybrid working system. I think in Trinidad and Tobago, where traffic is an issue, for example, I would spend 2 hours sometimes in my commute one way, when in reality, I live about 40 minutes away from the office, but the traffic is so intense that that time could really affect your well-being over a long period of time, that commute time. So I really believe that, and this is just in my personal context, obviously my colleagues and the wider nation, I think we'd be more productive as a people if we had that support in terms of the introduction of a hybrid working system.
Right. And so you have put that in place?
Or you haven't had it? It's not formalized, but the departments have the flexibility, depending, once you are not dealing directly with customers, once you're not frontline, you as a manager can approve work from home for your team members, once it does not disrupt the operations of your department.
That's fantastic though. I mean, Lois, that's a big win, because I know there are a lot of organizations that have mandated that people come back to work, even though people have asked to please give consideration to the fact that we can actually be much more efficient and effective at home, or at least working in a hybrid opportunity. So I mean, I guess so the hybrid would be one, but what do you see in terms of, whether it's changes in the way that customers are doing business, in the way that you are doing business? What do you see as, the future of our people in terms of your people?
Technology, definitely. So in the context of NAGICO, yes, technology will support the changes that are required post-COVID. And I think world over, so even in the context of Trinidad, if you can minimize the amount of persons that can come in, if you have apps and if you have people who can do business, on their mobiles, it will make life a whole lot easier. You see the banks doing it, and I think that's a start and a step in the right direction. And insurers are also getting on board. So definitely technology is another means by which life will be made easier post-COVID.
Right. And so, part of your, I mean, I guess as an HR professional, we have that change, right? So if we're moving to technology, it's now a new way of doing things. How are you looking at in terms of you said you've had some people there 40 years. How is that for you in terms of that change and how we're doing business, and how are you managing that? Or do you have any challenges with that? If you have, can you share some success stories around anything that you would have done?
I think COVID would have jolted us into a certain reality. We came to work in March 2020 and then we had to retreat. And what it meant for our organization is, in order to continue the business, persons who had desktops were allowed to take their desktops at home. IT had to adapt, and eventually over time, we changed to make sure that everything was ergonomic and that everyone had access to a laptop. So it may sound simple, but that would have been a cost to the organization. And we continue to look at technology and ways in which we can improve. So not just the hardware, but the software in terms of how we do business. We really are trying to ensure that we provide a better service to the customers who come to us directly and indirectly via the intermediaries. So some of the wins for us would have been just being able to adapt from a very manual system to a system that's not fully automated, but one in which we were able to track and ensure that things don't fall through the cracks and that we maintain the service that the customers are used to. So there wasn't much fallout, and even in terms of retaining staff, we were able to retain our staff by employing strategies which showed that we care, reaching out to them during COVID to educate them about the virus by having town hall meetings, virtual town hall meetings with medical practitioners. So we would have had a CMOH address the teams, the early affairs, engaging the EAP so that they would have spoken to groups of persons as well as persons who would have who would have contracted the virus and would have been afraid of what their future would have been, especially in the early when we did not know much about it. EAP counseling for persons who would have been in contact with persons who contracted the virus. During the pandemic, we had a situation where it was relatively new and one floor had to be shut down. We worked remotely and we were able to provide support. Thankfully, that floor was not the customer-facing floor, it was the support floor. And we were able to work remotely and still provide support to those who were interfacing with the customers. But even in that, HR couldn't have done it alone, and we had the support of the EAP because there was trauma for persons who were very afraid in the sense that they may have had an elderly person at home or a loved one with comorbidities. So they thought that perhaps you were exposing that person to the virus and you didn't do it because you went to a party, you came to work. And that was a bit trying for some persons. So we got support from the EAP in that regard. We also, as an organization, in terms of HSC, we would have engaged the service of a supplier to fog our buildings, which we continue to do to this day. So we
Right.
fog consistently, and I believe that that also contributed to us being a safe environment whereby employees did not contract the virus in the workplace. So persons who got it would have gotten it from going out, or perhaps a loved one at home had it and they got it. But we can safely say, and we are proud to say, that fogging contributed to keeping it a safe COVID-free environment.
Wow, fantastic. That's really great. And how proactive on your part as well. Yeah.
Yes,
And in
the
terms
management
of,
behind into that and supporting HR, because again, dollars and cents, sometimes the big picture, they may say it impacts the bottom line. So let's not spend that money unless there is a COVID positive person, and then we will sanitize as opposed to being proactive. So thanks to
yes.
management for that.
Yes, and I mean, I'm an engagement and leadership and culture master coach, right? So I understand the engagement and what we as HR and human capital leaders, the importance of us. We want to build the loyalty and keep loyalty, and of course, if you have the reputation where your people come first, then if you're just doing something when someone gets COVID, it's not it's just the optics of it as well, right? How that lands, but again, being true to your word, being proactive, ensuring that you're really looking after the well-being of your people, whether it's a physical, emotional, mental, really important during that time. And I mean, what would you say is something that you learned about, I mean, coming out of COVID? What would you say? Would you say that something that you want to continue doing?
I would say that we are a resilient people, and you never know how strong you are until you have to be strong. So the uncertainty of business continuity, I'm pleased to know that our organization did not retrench or even cut salaries. They did the best that they could to keep everyone. And the worst case scenario was not renewing a few contracts, but permanent employees remained employed and would have received the full salaries. So coming out of COVID, yes, it goes to show that teamwork makes the dream work, because it took a cohesive management team to really brainstorm and come up with novel ideas in terms of how we can make it happen, and that we had buy-in from our then chief executive officer, interim CEO. She must also be applauded for the support that she gave to the different territories, and in terms of allowing them to execute their plans.
Wonderful. Wow. Fantastic. So, I mean, moving forward then in terms of the future of our people, Lois, tell me, what are you seeing as opportunities to continue training and continue building? Is it the thinking? Is it the mindset? What kind of transformation are you thinking for the future?
The future is definitely the mindset, and dare I say, locally, we would have been engaged in a growth mindset program. I believe it really helps the team to forge through the pandemic, and it has to filter down to the wider organization. Once that training, once the organization is exposed to that, I believe that employees will see themselves correctly. They'll have a clearer sense as to what their purpose is, and they will recognize that everyone's contribution is valid in order for this thing to be successful, in order for the business to be successful. So definitely, before we speak about being technical, because yes, everyone offers customer service, but the mindset, the renewing of how we think is imperative if we are to remain in business and to maintain some sort of competitive advantage.
Wonderful. So you mentioned the growth mindset. So Carol Dweck is a big fan. I'm a fan of hers, actually. So tell me a little bit about that. How did that work? What was that program? How did it, was it a book and a program that you did? Tell us a little bit about that.
Facilitated by Barry Horse and Company, and it was definitely transformational in that it wasn't just theoretical. Of course, you were exposed to the theory of neuroscience, and you were made aware of yourself and how you think and the power of the mind, and how your beliefs influence the outcome of certain things. So definitely, yes, it was a point of enlightenment, but doing it with the management team, I'm grateful that the organization invested in us to such an extent, because we saw the benefits. There was a requirement for us to work as a group, and we got insights into each other, so we were paired off into groups, and we more or less emerged from that program as brothers and sisters. So you would have gone in as colleagues, and then you emerged as brothers and sisters. And may I say that coming out of that training, my GM would attest to the fact that our management meetings are more productive. Persons do not take things personally. We hear what the other person is saying. So if HR cannot get money for an event, it's not that another department is a love child. It's simply a case where priority has to be given to Project X, and there has been that change in terms of how we engage with each other. So definitely coming out of the growth mindset, I think that there are some of us who may be able to see the details but not the big picture, and vice versa. And growth mindset was able to sensitize us to those things.
Right, wonderful. But that is fantastic, and I applaud you for taking that the neuroscience of it. It is our brains are neuroplastic, and we can, as long as we're aware of those triggers and those behaviors that are not supporting us in our development. Okay, wonderful. So just to wrap up here, and in terms of something that you would like to leave with our audience today, anything, whether it's your insights, best practices, the future of our people, what would you say that you would like to leave with the audience today, Lois?
I am appreciative of the fact that the spotlight is being shone on HR. So definitely we want to let the audience know that HR is a business partner that supports the organization and the employees, and we want what's best. Of course, we remain objective, and we are your allies. We're not here to fight you down, and going forward, definitely, if you collaborate with HR, you will minimize your industrial relations issues. You will be able to boost employee morale. You'll be able to get advice on how to keep your team motivated. Your attrition rates will definitely be low in your departments. And so I just want to encourage the audience to engage your HR team, engage the HR practitioners in your organization, because we are here to support.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure to have you here, Lois.